My stepsister stole and wrecked my car, but my dad blamed me for being irresponsible. Years later, he wanted me to let her move into my house, so I refused and said I'm irresponsible. Remember, I guess it started with my parents' divorce. Not that I was surprised by it or anything. I mean, they were always arguing, shouting at each other over the dumbest stuff. My dad was this guy who always had something to complain about. And my mom, well, she did not have the patience to deal with him. So the split was inevitable, I think. At first I thought maybe things would calm down after the divorce, like no more fights, just peace and quiet. But no, things got a lot weirder fast. They agreed to split custody of me. Weekdays with my dad and weekends with my mom, since she had this demanding job. So I am bouncing back and forth between their houses. And it is lonely, man. Being an only kid, I did not have anyone to talk to about how messed up everything felt. But then, 3 months after the divorce, my dad hits me with this announcement. He has got news. Big news. He is getting remarried, and he is moving in this woman Mary, along with her daughter Jessica. He is acting like it is the best thing ever, like I should be happy to suddenly have a new sister. I remember sitting there just nodding along, but inside I was screaming. I did not ask for any of this. I did not want a new mom, and I definitely did not want some stranger invading my space. So I meet them. Mary seemed all right at first. Kind of cold, but not rude. But Jess, she is like this perfect, shiny 14-year-old, all smiles and sweetness. At least that is what everyone else saw. The first couple of weeks I was trying to be nice, get along, but it became clear real quick that this was not going to be like some Disney movie where we all magically get along and become one big happy family. Nope. Jess was the favorite right off the bat. And it sucked. Like on her birthday, my dad threw her this big party with cake decorations, the whole deal. And I am just standing there like, what the heck? Because my birthday was 2 months before that. And guess what? I got nothing. Not even a happy birthday from him. I am not exaggerating. He legit forgot. But for Jess, oh, she was the princess and I was just there. It did not stop there either. My dad started driving her to school every day, which was just another slap in the face because I still had to take the bus like some random nobody. And then if I ever did something wrong, like literally anything, my dad would be on me in a second, criticizing me for not being like Jessica, who is always so well behaved. Yeah, right. I remember one time I came home from school and found she had borrowed my favorite sweater without asking. When I told her not to touch my stuff again, she ran to my dad, fake crying, acting like I was being mean to her. What did my dad do? Took her side, of course, saying I needed to learn to share. It was ridiculous. I mean, this girl was constantly taking my things, makeup, clothes, even my school supplies. And somehow, I was always the one who ended up being the problem. The worst part, my dad was not even trying to hide the favoritism. It was like he had completely forgotten I existed, like I was no longer his daughter, just this annoying person who was in the way. Jess was the perfect one who could do no wrong. While I was invisible unless I was being criticized, it was not just my dad either. Mary never missed a chance to make me feel small, either ignoring me or lecturing me about how I should be more like her daughter. By the time I was 16, I was pretty much checked out of my family. I stopped trying to bond with them or be part of their happy little world because it was clear that I did not fit. So I focused on myself. I got a job, started saving money, and after a while I managed to buy my own car. It was not anything fancy, but it was mine, and it felt like the only thing in my life I actually had control over. My mom chipped in to help me buy it, but I was covering all the insurance, gas, and other expenses myself. My dad did not offer to help, of course. Why would he? He was too busy paying for everything Jess wanted. Honestly, I did not care though. Having that car was my little bit of freedom, something that was just mine, But then Jess started to notice. She had wrecked her own car a few weeks after I got mine. Big surprise, right? So now she was bugging me to borrow mine. Oh, Laura, I really need it just for today. I shut her down every time. I was not stupid. I knew she did not give a darn about my stuff and would probably trash it just like hers, but she kept pushing. I stood my ground though, telling her flat out no every time. Then one day I came home from school and my car was not in the driveway. My heart sank immediately because I knew what had happened. Sure enough, Jess had taken my car without asking. And when she got back later that night around 10 p.m., the front of it was all smashed up. She did not even apologize, just handed me the keys like nothing had happened. I stormed into the house ready to explode and went straight to my dad. I thought, finally, he is going to see how messed up this is and back me up. Right, wrong. Instead, I got a lecture about being selfish. Selfish because I did not want to share the car I had worked for, paid for, and maintained on my own. He did not care that Jess had stolen it and wrecked it. Nope. It was my fault for not letting her borrow it in the first place. Mary chimed in too, of course, like it was some sort of family gang-up. They all turned on me, making me feel like I was crazy for even being mad. Jess. She sat there acting all innocent like she did not just steal and wreck my car. I was furious. I could feel my blood boiling, but there was no point arguing anymore. So the next day, I packed up my things and moved to my mom's place. My dad did not even try to stop me. He did not care. I was just gone from his life, and that was it. 5 years went by without a word from him or Jess. Not one phone call, not one text, nothing. But honestly, I did not miss them. So, fast forward 5 years. I am in college living my own life, and things are going pretty good. I mean, I am not rich or anything, but I am making it work. I got a place off campus, a job that pays the bills, and friends who actually care about me, unlike my so-called family. Life finally felt like it was mine. Then, out of nowhere, I start getting these calls. At first, it was just one or two, and I did not recognize the number, so I ignored them. I am not the type to answer calls from numbers I do not know. Too many scammers out there, you know. But then, the calls kept coming, same number over and over again. I was like, what the heck? So I finally answer thinking maybe it is important or something, and guess who it is, Jessica? Freaking Jessica. I had not heard from her in 5 years. 5 years of nothing from her or my dad. The second I heard her voice, my stomach dropped. Like, what could she possibly want after all this time? She did not even sound like she cared about not speaking to me for years. She just jumped right into it like we talked yesterday. No big deal. Hey, Laura, it has been so long. How have you been? I was kind of stunned at first. I did not know whether to laugh or hang up. I decided to just be polite for the moment because I was curious about what she wanted. No way. She was calling out of the blue just to chat, right? I am fine, I guess. What is up? I said, keeping it short because I was not in the mood for small talk. She starts going on and on about how she is moving to my city for a new job or something. Apparently she has had a rough couple of months, lost her place, and now she is relocating. I am just sitting there listening, thinking, why are you telling me all this? And then she hits me with it. So I was wondering if I could crash at your place for a while, you know, just until I get settled. I heard from Dad that you live there, and I figured we could help each other out. I almost dropped my phone. First off, Dad was still apparently keeping tabs on me, which was creepy enough. But the fact that Jess assumed I would let her move in after 5 years of silence, I could not believe the nerve. It was not like we were close before she ruined my car, and now she thinks I am just going to welcome her with open arms. I took a second before answering because I did not want to just yell no and hang up, even though that is what I felt like doing. I do not know, Jess. I mean, I do not really have room for anyone else here, and I have been managing on my own for a while now, I said, trying to sound as calm as possible. But inside, I was raging. She did not even hesitate. Oh, I will not take up much space. I do not even have much stuff with me, and I will not be able to pay rent right away, but you have been living there on your own, so I figured it would not be a big deal. She said it like it was the most normal thing in the world, like I should just be cool with the fact that she expected to live rent-free in my place. It was not even a request at that point. It was more like she had already made up her mind and was just waiting for me to say yes. But here is the thing. I have worked hard to get where I am. I do not have a lot, but I have been doing everything on my own. There is no way I am letting someone who wrecked my car and has not spoken to me in years just waltz back into my life and take advantage of me. I am sorry, Jess, but that is not going to work for me, I said, finally just putting it out there. I have got my own stuff going on, and I am not really in a position to have anyone else staying here right now. I thought that would be the end of it, but of course she was not done. Laura, come on. It is just for a little while. I will not be any trouble. I promise. I just need a place to crash. You are my sister. You cannot just leave me hanging like this. I could hear the frustration in her voice, but that did not make me feel any more guilty. If anything, it made me mad. Now I was her sister. Where was all this family talk when she and my dad made my life heck? Where was she when I moved out and never heard from them again? I took a deep breath. Look, I am sorry you are going through a tough time, but I cannot help you. You will have to find another place. I am sure there are other options. Her tone changed real quick. She went from fake sweet to irritated in a second. I cannot believe you are being like this. I thought we were past all that old stuff. You have been doing fine, and it is not like you do not have space. This is not fair, Laura. I had to laugh at that. Fair. Since when was life ever fair for me? I was done. I was not going to let her guilt me into this. Jess, I do not owe you anything. I have been taking care of myself just fine without you or Dad, and I am not going to change that now. I am sorry if you are struggling, but that is not my responsibility. There was a long pause, and I could tell she was fuming, but honestly, I did not care. I had spent enough years bending over backward for people who did not care about me, and I was not about to start doing it again. Well, thanks for nothing, she snapped before hanging up on me. And just like that, the conversation was over. I sat there for a minute just staring at my phone. I felt a weird mix of emotions, relief, anger, disbelief, but mostly, I just felt tired. Like, why did I even have to deal with this? I had built my own life, moved on from the mess of my childhood, and now they were trying to drag me back into it. But at least I stood my ground. That is one thing I have learned over the years. If you do not stick up for yourself, people will walk all over you, and I am done being walked on. Update 1. So after the whole mess with Jessica, I figured things would go quiet again like they had been for the past 5 years. I was actually kind of relieved after I told her no. I did not feel bad about it, because honestly, she did not deserve my help after everything. But life does not just let you move on that easy, right? It was a few days after the whole Jessica thing, and I was just chilling, trying to get some schoolwork done when my phone rang again. This time, it was not an unknown number. It was my dad. Yeah, my dad who had not bothered to contact me once in 5 years. I stared at the screen for a second, kind of frozen, because I honestly did not expect him to call me ever. A bunch of thoughts rushed through my head. Maybe he was calling to apologize, or maybe he had finally realized how badly he treated me. I do not know. I guess part of me was still holding out hope that he would call, just to say, "Hey, how are you? I miss you," or something like that. So stupidly I answered. "Hello," I said, trying to keep it neutral, because I was not sure what was coming. "Laura," he said in that serious, annoyed tone he always used, like he was about to lecture me. Right then, I knew this was not going to be a nice conversation. "Hi, Dad," I replied, already feeling the tension building. "I heard from Jessica," he said, and immediately I could feel the heat rising in my chest. Of course he was calling because of her. "Oh yeah," I said, trying not to let the frustration leak into my voice. He sighed, the kind of sigh that made it sound like I was the problem here. "She told me you refused to help her. She needed a place to stay, and you just turned her away. How could you do that to your sister?" My sister. He actually had the nerve to call her that. I had not heard from him in years, and now he was coming at me accusing me of being selfish because I did not let the girl who wrecked my car and ignored me for half a decade crash at my place. I could barely believe it. "Dad," I said, trying to stay calm even though I was boiling inside. "Jessica and I have not spoken in 5 years. She took my car without asking, wrecked it, and you did not even care. You did not even check on me after I moved out. Now she suddenly needs a place to stay and I am just supposed to forget everything and let her move in. You are still holding on to that." He snapped like I was being unreasonable for remembering the whole car incident. "That was years ago. Laura, she is your family. You need to get over it. Get over it." Seriously, it was not just about the car. It was about being ignored, being treated like I did not matter for years while he doted on Jess like she was his real daughter. I was not going to let him twist this around and make it seem like I was the one in the wrong. "Dad, it is not just about the car. You and Jessica made my life heck back then. You never cared about me unless I was in trouble or being criticized. I am not going to let someone who has treated me like crap for years just walk back into my life because now they need something." There was a pause on the line, and for a second I thought maybe I had finally gotten through to him. Maybe he would see things from my perspective for once, but nope. Instead, he exploded. "You are so selfish," he yelled. "All these years I thought you would grow up and learn how to be part of a family, but you are just as inconsiderate as ever. Jessica needed you, and you turned your back on her. What kind of person does that?" I could not believe what I was hearing. I was selfish. The guy who had not spoken to me in years, who never once checked to see if I was okay after I moved out, was now calling me selfish because I did not want to let his golden child mooch off me. It was like I was living in some kind of twisted, alternate reality. "Dad, you have no idea what my life has been like for the past 5 years," I said, my voice shaking now because I was so angry. "You have never even asked. You did not care when I left. You did not care when I struggled to get by on my own. And now you suddenly want to lecture me about family. You do not get to do that." He went quiet for a moment, but I knew he was not done. I could almost picture him pacing around trying to come up with something to say that would make me feel like the bad guy. "You are going to regret this one day," he said, his voice low but still full of anger. "When you realize you pushed your family away and there is no one left to help you, you will see how wrong you are. I am disappointed in you, Laura. I really am." That was it. That was the breaking point for me. I had spent years trying to figure out why my dad did not love me the way he loved Jessica, why he treated me like I was a burden instead of his daughter. But in that moment, I realized I did not need his approval anymore. I did not need to keep trying to make him see my worth. If he was disappointed in me, that was his problem, not mine. I am done, Dad, I said, my voice steady now. If you want to be disappointed in me for standing up for myself, then fine. But I am not going to apologize for not letting someone who has been nothing but toxic into my life again. You and Jessica made your choices. Now I am making mine. There was silence on the other end, and I knew he was not going to apologize. That was not in his nature. Instead, he did what he always did. Hung up on me without another word. Just like that, the conversation was over. And so was my relationship with him. For good this time. I sat there for a while just staring at my phone, trying to process everything. It was hard, you know. No matter how bad things were, a part of me still wanted to believe that my dad would come around eventually, that maybe we could have a real father-daughter relationship someday. But after that call, I knew it was not going to happen. I was not sad, though. Not really. More like relieved, like I could finally stop hoping for something that was never going to be. I had my own life now, and I did not need his approval to be happy. I was free, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could actually move on. Update 2. So a little context before diving into this. My birthday has never really been a big deal, at least not since I was a kid. Growing up, it was always kind of forgotten or brushed off, especially after Jessica showed up and took over the spotlight, but I had gotten used to it. These days, I did not expect much. Maybe a couple of texts from friends, a casual dinner or something. But this year was different. It started like a normal day. I woke up, checked my phone, saw a couple of happy birthday messages from some close friends, and went about my day. I was not planning anything special, just chilling at home and maybe treating myself to a little takeout later. You know, something low-key. Then my phone buzzed again and I saw the name on the screen. It was my dad. Yeah. My dad calling me on my birthday after 5 years of silence, after everything that had happened with Jessica, after the blow-up call we had a few days ago. Now he was calling me. I stared at the phone for a second, like, what does he want now? Part of me did not want to answer. I mean, I figured it would just be more drama, right? But I do not know. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was some tiny part of me hoping that for once he was going to wish me a happy birthday, or maybe even apologize. So, yeah, I answered. Hey, I said, keeping it short, trying not to sound too eager or annoyed. Laura? He started, his voice way too formal, like he was getting ready for a business call. I have been thinking about our last conversation. Great, here we go. I thought he is going to double down on everything again. But what he said next caught me off guard. Listen, it is your birthday, and I know we have had our differences. I just want to say for a split second, I did not even know how to react. I mean, this was the first time in years he had acknowledged my birthday at all, let alone called me. It was not some heartfelt, tear-jerking apology or anything, but it was something. Thanks, I replied, a little confused. I was not expecting to hear from you. There was this awkward silence for a moment, like he did not know what to say next. I could almost picture him sitting there, trying to figure out how to keep the conversation going without getting into the mess from before. So how are you doing? He asked. And it sounded so forced, like I could tell he was not really interested in how I was doing. It was more like he was just going through the motions, ticking boxes in his head. I am good, I said, not wanting to dive into anything too deep. I did not really trust where this was going, but I figured I would play along for now. Just, schoolwork, same old stuff. Another pause. Then he finally said what I knew was coming. Jessica told me you were pretty harsh with her the other day. He said, his voice shifting back to that serious, almost condescending tone he used when he thought I was being unreasonable. I do not understand why you are still holding on to all that anger. And there it was. I should have known better. Of course, this was not just a birthday call. This was him trying to patch things up between me and Jessica, as if all the years of crap she put me through did not matter. Like I was the one who needed to make amends. Dad, I said, keeping my voice as calm as I could, even though I could feel my frustration building again. It is not about anger. It is about boundaries. I have moved on from everything that happened. But that does not mean I am just going to let Jessica walk back into my life like nothing happened. You cannot expect me to just forget everything. You need to let go of the past, he said, like he had not even heard a word I had said. She is trying to move forward and you should too. This is not what family does. We are supposed to support each other. I could feel my blood boiling at this point. I had spent years trying to get him to support me, And now he was acting like I was the one who had failed the family. It was like he had completely rewritten history in his head where Jessica was the victim and I was the villain. Dad, I did support her. I shot back, finally letting some of my frustration out. For years, I put up with everything she and Mary threw at me. I was the one who had to deal with being ignored, pushed aside, and treated like crap. And now, when I finally stand up for myself, I am the bad guy. How is that fair? There was this long pause, and I thought maybe I had gotten through to him. Maybe he would finally see things from my side. But nope, he just sighed like he was tired of having to deal with me. "You are making this so much harder than it needs to be, Laura," he said. And I could hear the frustration in his voice now. "Jessica is your sister. You need to act like it." And that is when I realized he was never going to get it. No matter what I said, no matter how many times I explained it, he was always going to take Jessica's side. She was the daughter he chose, and I was the one he put up with. "I am acting like it." I said, my voice steady but cold. "I am just acting like the sister she deserves. You cannot force me to forgive her just because it is easier for you. I have moved on, and you need to do the same." There was another silence, and this time it was heavy, like he did not know what to say next. Or maybe he just realized he was not going to win this one. "Fine," he finally said, his voice clipped. "But do not come crying to me when you realize you burned every bridge you have left." And with that, he hung up. I sat there for a minute staring at my phone, trying to process what had just happened. I was not even mad at that point. Just done. Done with trying to get my dad to see me. Done with hoping for something that was never going to happen. It was not the birthday I expected. But maybe it was the one I needed, because now I knew for sure my dad was never going to change, and I did not need him to. I was fine on my own. Update 3. So after that birthday call from my dad, I really thought I was done with them. I mean, it was pretty clear he was not interested in actually hearing me or understanding anything from my side. I had drawn my line in the sand, and I was ready to move on for good. Or at least, that is what I thought. But life always seems to throw one more thing at you when you least expect it, right? And this time, it came in the form of another call, but not from my dad. This time, it was from my mom. Now my relationship with my mom has always been kind of distant. She was not really involved in the whole mess with my dad and Jessica because, well, she had her own stuff going on. Her job kept her super busy. And honestly, she never seemed to want to get involved. She was more of a you handle your own problems type of person. So when she called, I was not sure what to expect. We had not really talked about any of the drama that had been happening recently. And I figured maybe she was just calling to check in or ask about school. "Hey, Mom," I answered, trying to sound casual even though I was a little on edge after everything that had been happening. "Hi, Laura," she replied, her voice sounding more serious than usual. "I wanted to talk to you about something. It is about your dad and Jessica." Here we go again, I thought. "Yeah," I said, already bracing myself for whatever was coming next. "I know things have been rough between you and them," she started. "But your dad called me yesterday. He is really worried about you, Laura. He thinks you have been shutting everyone out." I could not help but roll my eyes. Worried about me? That was rich. Coming from a guy who had not spoken to me in 5 years except to yell at me for not letting Jessica move in. "Mom, I am not shutting everyone out," I said, trying to stay calm. "I just do not want to deal with people who only care about me when they need something. Dad is only calling because Jessica wants something, and I am not playing that game anymore." "I get that," she said. "In that way, people do when they clearly do not get it. But family is family, Laura. You cannot just cut them out of your life forever. At some point, you are going to need them." I could not believe she was saying this after everything that had happened, after all the years of being ignored. Suddenly, I am supposed to need them. "Mom, I do not need them," I said, a little sharper than I meant to. "I have been fine on my own. I am in school. I am working. I have built my own life. They have not been there for me, so why should I be there for them now?" She sighed, and I could tell she was getting frustrated. "Look, I am not saying what they did was right, but sometimes you have to be the bigger person. Holding on to all this resentment is only going to hurt you in the long run." There it was again. Another person telling me to just let it go like it was so easy. Like years of neglect and being treated like an outsider in my own family could just be forgotten because family. "Mom, this is not about resentment," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "It is about respect. They have never respected me, and I am not going to keep letting them walk all over me just because we are related. I have spent too long trying to be the bigger person, and it has gotten me nowhere." She did not say anything for a minute, and I could hear her thinking it over. I hoped for a second that maybe she would finally understand, but then she said the last thing I expected. "You know your dad is right," she said quietly. "You have always been so stubborn. You never let anyone in. That is why things are like this." I was stunned. Stubborn me. I had been bending over backward for years trying to fit into a family that never wanted me, and now I was the stubborn one. "Are you serious right now?" I asked, my voice shaking with disbelief. "I am the one who has been stubborn. I am the one who is wrong here. I am just saying." She replied, her voice calm, like she was giving me some kind of life lesson. "If you do not learn to let people in, you are going to end up alone." That was it. The final straw. I could not believe that even my mom, the one person who should have understood what I had been through, was blaming me for everything. "Mom, if letting people in means getting treated like garbage, then yeah, maybe I will end up alone," I snapped. "But at least I will not be miserable. I am done being the one who has to make everything better. If they want to fix things, that is on them, not me." She did not say anything after that. I think she realized she had pushed too far. But honestly, I did not care anymore. I was done with all of it. "I got to go," I said, cutting the conversation short before she could say anything else. "Laura." But I did not wait for her to finish. I hung up and just sat there, staring at my phone, trying to wrap my head around the fact that even my own mom was siding with them. At that moment, I realized something. I did not need their approval. Not from my dad, not from Jessica, and not even from my mom. I had spent too long trying to get people to see me, to value me, and all it had done was make me feel worse. So yeah, maybe I was stubborn. Maybe I was shutting people out. But if that meant protecting myself from getting hurt again, then so be it. I would rather be alone and happy than surrounded by people who did not really care about me. And with that, I finally felt like I could move on for real this time.